Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of BODHI. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about digital AI and how to create an organization that is ready for from data foundations all the way to productionizing the NEI initiatives. And with me in the room here, I have an amazing person and a good friend, Morgan Page. Morgan is a partner in charge at Weaver, a leading tax audit and digital consulting firm. So Morgan is a Harvard trained and has helped significant number of organizations from small startups all the way to billion-dollar organizations into converting their digital strategy into real business value. Just a quick fact about him. I don't want to date Morgan, but he knows quite a few languages. He's a polyglot programmer. That means he can code in multiple languages, all the way from basic to the newest languages called KQL. Morgan, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So Morgan, in today's conversation, there's a lot of when we at Polestar also we do a lot of consulting, and when we go reach out in the market, customers frequently ask, how do you operationalize or build an AI foundation that can actually deliver business results? So we have segmented this entire conversation into four big buckets. The first one is data foundation and data governance, something that readies the organization for the leap. The second is operationalizing the AI, an initiative. The third part will be driving adoption, because you can put something in production, but people may not necessarily use it. So that AI adoption part. And fourth, how to lead the change. So that what is the advice for the CIOs or the CAIOs or the CDAOs, and the acronyms keep coming. How do you engage or coach them on those type of leading these initiatives? Those are the four key areas in which we are going to have a conversation today. Okay. The first one is many organizations embark on an AI initiatives without actually having any solid data foundation. Okay, they do not necessarily have all the data in one place. They don't even have a data warehouse, but they want to productionize AI into their systems. What advice would you give them, or what have you observed as one of the most overlooked pillar when companies talk about building a data foundation?
I love this because I joke that it's CEO-itis. The CEOs get together and they start arguing with each other, and they all want to one-up each other. And AI is the latest one-up. Or, hey, we did this really great AI. And so then when the other CEOs hear it, they come back to their organization and go, we need AI.
We need it, yeah.
But it's a journey, right? You don't just start and apply and magically AI is fixing everything. And I think when I'm helping organizations, the thing I'm most consistently and repeatably see is around data ownership.
Okay.
Because oftentimes it gets thrown into IT, right? They manage the data warehouse, but they don't own the data, right? They make it connect, but what does this mean? Who's okay with changing it? And that's a huge thing, changing it, right? Because once the business decides to start changing it, then all of a sudden your AI models, they go to grab that piece of data that they've been grabbing for the past 6 months and it's not there, or it's different. And then if you've extended that into decisioning, where it's helping create your processes, it goes to grab that thing that it needs for the decision and it's not there, or it's different and it doesn't know what to do. And so it just stops. And
once people lose that confidence in that data, program initiative or adoption goes out of the window as well.
Absolutely.
Very nice. And a lot of these initiatives, so for some of these reasons that you just mentioned, the projects start, but they fail within a year. So they go into production, but they somehow fail. So what fundamental structural changes would you recommend for a company that is embarking on this journey, that they should look into their architecture on day one, whether it can scale or not, and actually deliver a business value in future?
So the first thing I would say is knowing that your project plan to develop and implement, if that's what you're focused on, you're already going to miss the boat.
Okay.
Because this process of digging into this data, decisioning on this data, it's going to expose every skeleton in your closet. And so you need to have in your project plan an anticipation on the identification and resolution of those skeletons. And the hardest part of this, that's not a technology issue. That's a process and people issue of, we have this change in our process that we all thought the data operated like this, but when we started using AI to analyze it, it started surfacing up all of those weird things that we do once a month, once a quarter, right? But those have to be managed as well from a technology perspective. And so understanding that that's going to be an iterative managed process. And to your point about high confidence, your first pass is going to be ugly. And making sure that you've got that change management program in place where people know that first pass is ugly. And I usually tell people, I compare your AI journey to like hiring an intern. That first day that intern starts, oh, it's pretty rough. But this intern never forgets. And so when you tell it once, it's always going to remember, and it's going to get a little bit better and a little bit better. And so when I talk to people about this concept of digital core, right, building your digital henchmen to help support you, you have to teach them and train them just like you teach and train an intern. And so you wouldn't bring an intern in your first day and have them run your supply chain program or have them do your accounts payable analysis. You would sit with them, you would work with them, you would help them learn, you would educate them. Oftentimes companies have this 1 week onboarding process. That needs to exist in the digital environment. And what does that look like for your AI models that you're building? And so educating your stakeholders on that model as well. There is this education, this side by side. It's not a magical tech bullet that IT hands over and it works perfectly the first time.
Absolutely. So engaging users even in production environment. Many times people feel that yes, that should be part of the project implementation. Since you guys have done that training, etc., it should work seamlessly on day one. So what I'm hearing from you, and we advise similar things, that post production also there is a period in which actual users needs to come try the system, be patient with the system. It may not be delivering results exactly what you expect, but that coaching part needs to be there with the AI systems as well. Awesome. So thank you. So building that plan, and every offline conversation that used to happen needs to be part of that project implementation, right? You said once a month, once a quarter, you are doing some activity that needs to be incorporated as well. Excellent. So before we do that activity, there is a certain amount of data readiness that needs to be there, or a data maturity needs to be there. Most organizations do not have all the time in the world to do a full data maturity check. They don't have a couple of millions dollars to throw away a big consulting firm to do a data maturity assessment. So for those firms who want to initiate or assess whether they are close to a data foundation or not, if you have a few hours to do a data maturity health check, what are some telltale signs you will look for, whether your data is ready to be incorporated or build AI on top of it or not?
A couple of easy things I go to. One, whenever you're speaking with key stakeholders, do you know what your crown jewels of data are? And I'm not talking about the reports that you get. I'm talking about the data that is in your applications and your data warehouse if you have one. And if you don't know what those critical fields are, you're just not ready. And there's a big manual effort you're going to need to do to make sure you know those crown jewels. And then the other one I go to a lot of times is for those crown jewels, what is the completeness, accuracy, and consistency of that data? Is your vendor master file a great example? I love getting my hands on a good vendor master file because two things happen. You can look at that address field in a heartbeat and know the quality of their data governance, their data management program, because you look at addresses, and if those addresses are all over the board, they've got some work to do.
Absolutely. So they have United States, they have US, they have USA, United States of America, all the names that you can think of, they have everything all over the place. The zip codes are sometimes 5 digits, sometimes 9 digits, sometimes 10 digits, sometimes 3 digits, and with the US, and you feel like, oh, this is not good.
And it's an easy cleansing process. There's free API tools to bounce it off of. And so that's something that is not a large investment to clean up. But it tells you where the focus on that data quality is if that's not cleansed with an easy solution.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing, Morgan, from your conversation is that you are insisting or recommending to people that look at your data, understand if it is a reasonable quality, then make sure that the data foundation is fully ready or available, incorporating all the manual processes you have into crunching as well, and then be patient a little with the results at a later stage.
And the only thing I would challenge people to is it doesn't have to be across the entire data estate. It's a huge process to get there. But if there are areas of value that you want to apply AI for, make sure that the supporting data for that is in that position. So if you're focused on operational data, you don't necessarily need to make your HR data be good.
True.
Eventually you do.
Yeah, but don't start boiling the ocean. Take a bucket, boil it, make sure that you make a tea with it, and then move to the next one. Absolutely. Great. A few times customers come back, extending that same conversation. Few times customers come back and say, I'm trying to struggle between innovation and data governance. So there is a lot of focus on data security, compliance, etc. If I try to become very innovative, then I'm going to compromise on that. Therefore, in that spirit, many conversations get shut down instantly that, hey, I want to make sure that data security and governance are in place. Therefore, I'm not going to innovate. How do you balance the both? That at what place you decide that this is the innovation dial I'm going to switch on, and make sure that I'm still compliant to all the regulations?
I absolutely love what you just said in that I can't be secure and innovative because that is often seen in the security shops of this cultural response of, I don't understand it, so no, we can't do this. It's unsecure. And so what I would challenge a lot of these security shops is, how do you innovate? And what's really fun about them is some of your security shops secretly have all the data you need to make these incredible leaps from an AI perspective.
Okay.
So their DLP policies and their semantic analysis for the security tagging, that's the same exact infrastructure that's critical for your AI-based searches. So if you want to be able to search across all of your documentation, if you're in like the Microsoft environment with Graph, right? So that's Graph's security architecture is also tied to their innovation architecture. And so you're securing your same innovation infrastructure. And that's really what we're seeing from these providers is whether it's Snowflake, Azure, GCP, pick your pony, they know that's the risk.
Right.
And many of them operate in environments that have higher security strictures than the US markets do. So if somebody's in the Eurozone and dealing with GDPR, they've already got it engaged where it's going to lock down the security fast, quick, and in a hurry. And so being able to have that, a friend of mine mentioned it as not just minimum viable product, but minimum viable secure product. And then I totally stole yours.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
But being able to understand the security structure, how it builds, and like when you mentioned Power BI world with people, and they're like, oh, well, how do we keep somebody from seeing the data? And you start talking to them about row level security and column security. You're like, oh, I can have the same data set that you can only see 5 rows, but I can see 10. That's amazing. And that's a new security model that's dramatically different from the historical flow down architecture of Jim Bob gets this and Sally Sue gets that. These are more nodal in their design.
So what I'm hearing is that in majority of the cases, unless the requirement is very, very specific, the hyperscalers and the data platforms have the infrastructure ready to build or secure your data seamlessly. There are data governance practices in place, tools in place that will make sure that any regulations that you have can be complied to.
Well, a lot of times too, I'll challenge people on, they're so worried about once it gets into this digital environment of, is their data secure, that I challenge, your email's not secure.
Correct.
Your printout is not secure. I have walked across a parking lot before, found a USB with bank data on it. God. That's not secure.
That's not secure.
And so some of it is make sure you're not, in your innovation process, ask the question of, is this because we can now secure it that we're more concerned with it? And what is the change in our risk profile? Are we slightly more secure going this digital route than we used to be, even though there's still some angst to it? I mean, we might want to get better. And so being able to have that conversation as well.
No, there are millions of paper pages that are lying around in drawers and people feel that I'm secure. That's not secure. But now suddenly they are lying in a digital vault and they feel I'm very insecure. True. On the same topic, right, on the governance, there are so many CIOs who embark on this journey and are a little apprehensive. If you have to give one governance lesson advice to the CIO on how to operationalize a data governance model, what would that be? I know there are many advice you would want to give.
When you get to the master data management side of it, if you are not already there and you are trying to build that program, stay away, hire it out. I made the mistake of going down that path. And it is a brutal battle.
Correct.
And because you're determining you own this data, you now cannot change it. And so from a CIO perspective, living in the organization, that means you're having to give up goodwill and political capital to make those decisions. And so being able to have somebody from the external party come in, say, hey, this is how it should be based on best practices or whatever you want to choose. And then going away. And it gives you the out to say, look, I know this isn't a popular decision,
right?
But we hired them for a reason. This isn't coming from me. And then you become the compromise rather than the villain.
Correct, correct. So what I'm hearing is that making sure that you hire the right professionals to be able to do and don't try to solve all your problems by yourself.
Yes.
Although it may look easy, but spending a few $100,000 will significantly more add in value compared to the millions that you're going to lose in trying to do it yourself. Let's change the gear a little bit now from data foundation and governance to operationalizing. So several leading market research firms frequently publish their reports that 97, 96, you pick a number in high 90s, are going to fail before going into production. So they do POCs. Right now, I was reading a report that said 150,000 POCs got kicked off in Jan 2025 alone across Fortune 500 companies. And 97% of them are not going to see production. In your opinion, what are few trademarks of successful projects that will actually cross that hype and deliver business value?
So, not treating it like it's a 1990s application implementation. We've got a playbook that works. IT's been using it for years, and we're trying to use that same playbook for something that's a complete digital disruption. The environment has changed. It's the equivalent of going back to COVID, and it's 2020, world shuts down, and we're all still trying to go to the office and do our job, but nobody's coming.
True.
And so our digital brain has to shift on, our playbook needs to be new. And one of the key things I think about is on the POCs that are successful, it's early engagement with the business, and it's change management with the business.
Okay.
The adoption element, because people are used to IT takes it, they go do this black box of IT magic, and they hand it back over, and it just all works.
Right.
But that's not AI. That's not this new technology. And so you have to work with the business and go, okay, here's your baby intern. Now, how do we train it to do what you do all day so you can do more fun stuff?
So making it like a project that I have given you a tool to be able to do the job better rather than doing the job for you. So that will hopefully make it much more seamlessly pass. Okay. Now we come to that topic. Just extend it even more that people struggle, right? How do I go live? So sometimes there is a conflict in Agile. Thankfully, there's a methodology called minimum viable product. Okay. So we spoke at length about it earlier as well, that sometimes people start adding more terms to it, minimum viable and secure product. Another friend of mine gave me an amazing term called minimum lovable product. Okay. There is a third term that is gaining traction, minimum scalable product. How do you decide between all these three? How do you balance between what is lovable and what is viable? Because viability means at a bare minimum, what can I do? But a lovable means at a bare minimum I could do, but nobody wants it. So minimum lovable kind of becomes, I'm leaning more towards the minimum lovable guy, that when I hand over something that people should really, really like using it. What is your take on it between viability and lovability?
I 100% go to lovability because I've got this statement I tell my team all the time. If it doesn't work for the business, it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
And so if they don't love it, if they don't see the vision and get excited about it, they're not going to adopt it. And it's going to wind up this super cool product sitting on a shelf collecting dust. Now, I will say too, though, that minimum lovable product is the starting point. And here's where my secret accountant comes out of the closet and I go, okay, it's lovable, but what's our ROI? Is this really the best focus for us? And this is a trap that a lot of people fall into with their digital transformation because it drives from the executive suite because they see the scope, but the value comes from the bottom. And so oftentimes what happens is you get a CFO or a COO that goes, I want this report automated, or I want this thing that I look at once a quarter automated. And it's important. I'm not saying it's not,
Correct.
but is that where all the value is? If they look at it once a quarter, what's your return on investment?
For if I spend 5 months building that report for you that you're going to look 4 times a year, is it value add?
But if you do something 300 times a day and you save 5 minutes on 300 times a day, that's what, 1,500 minutes a day. That's a lot of cost savings. And that's a lot of resources that get redeployed. And so looking at what's my minimum lovable product and what's the return on investment based on that lovable product. I may love it and think it's the greatest thing in the world, but it may be a not right now because we've got better things to do.
Absolutely. Now take that same thing. If if my listeners would love to hear an example from you, actually, that many of times these initiatives don't necessarily deliver the results that were expected.
Mhm.
But I'm sure in your experience, wide experience, you must have encountered some cases where the results were far more than what you
Mhm.
originally planned for. Without disclosing anything confidential, I'm sure, can you share a little bit of example of a success story where you have seen results being significantly higher than what you planned for?
Absolutely. So one of the ones, this was energy, and in energy, they have this weird accounting need on what's called a reverse and a rebook.
Okay.
And so because of when revenues hit and ownership changes, they've got to go back out a bunch of accounting entries and rebook them.
Okay.
And everybody's just used to it. This is normal course of
Hmm.
business for them. And so we were helping an organization do it. And it was not a huge project, probably took us 3 weeks to build everything for it. And we thought it would be a decent little payback, but nothing major.
Hmm.
And within the first year, it immediately was over 2,000 hours of savings. They didn't even know how much time that they were spending
In the
doing these
rebook.
reverse rebooks
Okay.
because they did them all the time. And they were just like, oh, it's just reverse rebook. It takes like 2 minutes to do,
Correct.
but it really took 15 to 20 or 30.
Mm.
And it was eating up so much of their time. So all of a sudden, all of those resources start focusing on other stuff. And they're able to better tighten up revenue processes, and then it has a trickle down effect. And so direct connection was 2,000. Flow through to the whole financial statement close process, and you see tons of changes because you've got accountants with time on their hands.
Absolutely. And it took you 3 weeks, you said?
Mm-hmm.
The 3 weeks saved you one full man year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's something.
And so,
Okay, great. So on the same lines, right? There is so many new technologies keep coming,
Mhm.
and most of the time it becomes like a technology theater.
Mhm.
This new technology, I got this, I got this, I got this, and every technology is in there. How do you educate or coach CIOs into not making it a technology theater and focusing on the business value? Sometimes they just want to get on the bandwagon that I don't want to miss it. So I want this new technology that is available today.
Uh-huh. The software sales guys are pretty good,
Are very competitive. Yes.
especially when they go talk to your business and then your business comes to you.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think about is I focus on infrastructure first and then build on infrastructure. And the
Okay.
comparison I'll draw to that is when you're doing city planning, do you build an entire city first or do you put the crossroads in first? Probably the crossroads. You need
Correct, correct.
people before you build the buildings. And so when I look at that, I look at what's my enterprise reference architecture? What are the applications that I'm going to double down on that I see a 3 and 5 year horizon, both from a what their capabilities exist today and where they're going in their product roadmap. Oftentimes I'll ask CIOs about their primary applications and I'll ask what's on that application's roadmap, and they have no idea. So how can you define a strategy if you don't know where your infrastructure is going? It's pretty hard to get on a map and follow a road and know where it's going.
Yeah, you're making a commitment to a piece of code or software without knowing what it's going to add value to you 3 years down the line or not. It solves a small problem today, but you may not be aware of the whole picture.
And that also goes into a lot of those POC fails because a lot of your infrastructure is investing in AI solutions and in these different things. And you may do a POC and you may dedicate all of your resources to fixing something, or creating something. That 2 months down the road, your software vendor goes, "Hey, I created that," and you're like, "Oh, cool," because I just
spent $300,000 building that. Absolutely. So switching the gears now. So we got the data foundation. Thank you so much for your inputs. We got a lot of information about data governance as well as operationalizing the AI. Let's talk a little bit about change management. Okay, that many of these AI initiatives gives a lot of pushback. For example, in your example, just the one you gave just now, I'm sure there are some accountants that might have pushed back and said, I don't like this automation. I love doing this reverse and rebooking on my own. How do you manage that cultural resistance that comes, especially with AI, because they can easily raise their hand and say, I don't trust it. Because there is no math or science behind it. There is some gimmick happening behind the black box. How do you manage that cultural resistance change? How do you convince people to embark on this change?
So that's a great question, and it's critical to success. And one of the key things that I focus on is don't do it to them, do it with them.
Okay.
And so, because if you come to them with a product and say, hey, this fixed all of this thing you have to do, and they go, but I liked doing that because you did it to them. But if you ask them in the beginning, do you like copying and pasting 400 pages for 6 hours? Of course they'll go, no, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I go home and drink after that.
Yeah.
But the reality is they don't enjoy it. But if they feel like someone's doing it to them, they feel like something's being taken
away
from them versus giving them the opportunity to lead and improve it and be able to be a part of this really cool thing.
Correct.
And it's something that some IT shops can struggle with. IT is often the bad guy in every environment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this failed. It's IT's fault. Oh, this isn't working. It's
Correct,
IT's fault. And so whenever they have an opportunity for something really cool and successful, they don't want anyone to take their cheese. But there's enough cheese to go around in this environment. And so all of us work together on it and we all get a piece of cheese and it's all really cool.
Correct.
And so having that openness and transparency, and then with the IT shops, having an engagement role. So if digital transformation is living in IT, not a separate digital transformation group, making sure that you bring someone in that's got a customer engagement focus, not a technology focus.
So change management, having a vertical, having a stakeholder engagement plan to keep them along with you and maybe include them in design strategies.
Absolutely.
That this is, I'm thinking, don't dump a result on them that, hey, here is something that I created in isolation without talking to you, but based on my hypothesis of what your problems are. And then they come back and challenge all of those. Absolutely. And in that process, right, the technology is changing so fast, even within IT as well as in business. So upskilling becomes a critical part now, that everybody needs to keep up with the technology that is happening. How do you recommend for a IT organization to keep upskilling? It cannot be a once a year opportunity that, okay, we have a 2-day boot camp and now I'm going to train you on everything. What advice would you offer to a CIO so that they can make sure that their entire organization can be upskilled in relevant technologies and keep up to date?
So one of the things that I push a lot of organizations to do is run your IT shop project-based. Every person gets assigned projects, gets aligned, and that's going to give you gaps in capacity. And what that does is throughout your year, you're not doing 1-point trainings anymore. Every time there's a gap in capacity, you go, okay, go get this certification or go explore this new thing. And then be intentional with it as well. So you're intentionally upskilling between projects. What a lot of organizations fall into the trap of is, I have 10 people and we're just going to do the work as it comes. And we don't know the projects. We don't know how long it's going to take. We're really busy. So we feel like we need another resource. But when we're not busy, what are we using that capacity time for?
Okay.
And so making sure that you're being intentional with every hour of it. And the other thing is leverage the business. They're out searching this. Leverage your interns in your universities. Many of these applications have university programs, and so students are being educated in Alteryx and Snowflake and Azure and all of these different capabilities. Use them to come in. Interns love projects. Give them a project to build something cool and start building your knowledge base on that.
Absolutely. So basically what I'm hearing is that have a plan or vision of what all trainings are required for each individual and then spread it out throughout the year in between projects, in between engagements, give them a day or 2 days off to go and get that training done. And don't club everything all together at the end of a training week or something. As a tech leader, like you also have to make some commitments to understand and upskill yourself. Can you talk a little bit about your regime, how you make sure that GPT OSS 120B got dropped down, pros, cons, etc. GPT-5. I personally love GPT-4o. How do you keep up with all the changes that are happening?
It's hard. What I personally have to do is narrow the field and say, here's the products I'm going to focus heavily on. And then with my team members, I have product portfolios for each one for them to focus on. And then we knowledge share together. And so I may not know everything, but I know the cool tidbits about each, right? But from constant reading, I probably read 100 articles a month on different things coming out. I live off reading on my phone. So every time I have 5 minutes, I'm holding my wife's purse while she goes to the bathroom. I'm pulling up an article and reading it because I think that's more interesting than Instagram and Facebook. Correct. And so that's one way that I keep up with a lot of the different technologies. And then my other favorite thing is just projects. Some days I go, you know what? I've got 4 hours today.
You'll pick a personal project?
And I'm going to pick a personal product.
Get your 14 languages to use.
So the other day I was playing with Agentix in the Copilot
Right.
studio and created a resume reviewer.
It is fabulous.
It is awesome.
It is awesome.
And so it went through 150 resumes in 10 minutes. That would have taken me that 4 hours to go
Correct,
through.
correct.
And so it's one of those, it's like, okay, now, is it minimum viable product? No. Is it a POC? No.
No. Yeah.
But it's really cool and something you can share and get people excited with. And someone goes, you know what? I will double down on that. That is
Absolutely.
cool.
And then you can think about ways of scaling it. That okay, if I can do this much in 4 hours, imagine what a team of 10 amazing techies can do that.
Especially someone who's actually smart. I'm not that smart.
I doubt that. Right. So we spoke a lot about governance also. We spoke a lot about adoption as well. Let's switch the gear into leadership. Like if you have to advise a CIO, okay, in a new organization, somebody who took on the baton just now, how do he go about convincing? Because they may not necessarily have a lot of connection with businesses to be able to influence their decision. How should they embark on that journey of convincing a business stakeholder that this is important and I can help you if you help me?
So a couple of things. One thing for CIOs is change your language. Understand, we'll call it business love languages.
Okay.
So understand the language that needs to be used to communicate with the business and engage. Oftentimes I'll see, whether it's a boardroom or a management meeting, the IT group starts to talk about what they're doing and everybody's eyes glaze over because they understand the words individually, but together they have no clue what's being said. And so, hey, great use case for ChatGPT. Go put in everything in the tech words and say, break this down into a business language. I love doing storytelling. And so I try to compare it to other things, like the street example.
Right.
And everyone knows a street. And so being able to break that down helps that communication. And when the business feels like there's a connection in how you're communicating, they're going to start engaging back as well.
I resonate with that thought process completely. I love stories myself. If I cannot translate a concept easily or comfortably to somebody, maybe I don't understand it myself very well.
Absolutely.
And once I start speaking their language, they start listening. Oh, okay, he's talking about autonomous supply chain. This is how it's going to work for me. That's awesome.
The other thing I would throw out is, do you know what your organization is there for the business to do? It's easy for IT to fall in a trap to say, I am here to keep all of these blinking lights on. But that's not serving the business. That's keeping the lights on. That's a personal requirement, not an organizational. And so if you've not done an ITIL assessment or just a basic survey of what is your most critical need from IT, then you're going to struggle with that business engagement to be able to say, hey, I know you really need this from me, because the thing they need, now, they do need the servers to be on.
Correct.
But the thing they really need from a service perspective is probably not the thing you have all your resources dedicated to.
That's like the hygiene versus motivation theory. Keeping the lights on is just hygiene. That is not going to motivate a business user to come to you and give you a new project. So you have to give a business case that will motivate them to engage well.
Yep.
Absolutely. So on a looking forward basis, right? If I keep thinking, there are so many new technologies keep coming. Edge AI is coming, agentic AI is coming. There's so many amazing agents that are becoming. Autonomous supply chain people are talking about. Is there a particular technology trend that looks very exciting to you, that you feel is a very high potential in the next 3 to 5 years?
I love the world of IoT.
Okay.
So I'm the guy that I automated everything in my house. I don't touch light switches. I just talk to my house and it does things. And I think that's incredible. And I think you're seeing more and more of that. And especially as we get Starlink miniaturized satellites, more widespread internet broadband coverage through IIJA, all of a sudden, where that was historically restricted to your high metros because of bandwidth, all of a sudden your IoT can now spread across geographic regions that it couldn't before. And so now you can monitor GPS on vehicles. You can track everything from if you have a well in the middle of nowhere to what it's doing, or if you have a caribou walking across a mountain, you can track where it is and be able to get these physical elements into data elements that can be analyzed. And so I think that's going to be a huge transition. And you're starting to see some of the big providers do it, like Walmart, when they created their own ledger for organic foods with crypto. that you're able to track from source to
Correct.
end of where everything is. And so you're starting to see more and more of that. Amazon's another great example
Absolutely.
of OT being applied.
I've heard about that Walmart case study. At every touch point, they have a barcode scanner that takes the input of every piece of from farm to fork. They can track that supply chain. Where did this pea come from? Exactly the farm. Okay, awesome. So we'll move to our rapid fire round. So typically at the end of our BODHI, we do a rapid fire round where we don't allow you to too much time to think. Okay, but I'll ask you 5, 6 questions and you respond with what comes first to your mind.
Okay.
Okay. So the first will be right. Finish the sentence. To get AI ready in 2027. AI ready in 2027. So we'll give 2 years of heads up. An organization to start by.
Having a roadmap of what the business needs.
Okay. One book every tech leader should read today.
The Unicorn Project.
By? Unicorn Project.
Yeah.
I'll take that mind. Biggest myth about AI adoption you wish leaders would stop believing.
It's not a silver bullet, and it doesn't mean that you don't need people.
Very well. If you could invest in one innovation area for AI scalability, what would that be?
Data quality.
Perfect. Most common data mistake that kills the AI momentum?
Data scientists hoarding the data. I call them data dragons because they'll sit on their mountain of data and be like, this is mine.
Yeah, you tell me what you need, I'll give. Can you give me a little bit more? No,
democratize it and share it. Your data team should be like Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
You get data, everybody gets data.
Most overlooked non-technical skill for AI success?
Customer service.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Engage and connect with your customer and make sure they have this incredible experience.
And that ties to the rest of the whole conversation here, right? That we create these fancy projects, but we don't necessarily create them for the business. But that minimum lovable part is very important. Okay. Go-to strategy to keep cross-functional teams aligned and in one direction.
Nagging them
constantly.
Like
nothing gets done.
Did you go talk to so and so? Did you go talk to so and so? Are you all friends? We're all friends here. Let's be friends.
At least talk.
Yes.
The nagging works. My wife knows that very well. Okay. In one word. Okay. What is the future of AI-powered decision making?
Agility.
Okay.
So I love this concept of AI enhances your organizational agility, but it reduces your process adaptability. Because once you build the models, your process needs to stay consistent and manageable. But at that point, you're getting so much information and insight that you're like, oh, I'm getting this contraction. I need to update and enhance. So I'm going to shift over here. I'm going to do this. And so you're able to move at the speed of now.
Okay. Next question. I have 2 more. If you could automate one business process with AI today, what would that be? In your organization or in a client organization, something that you have seen very often that could be really automated with AI?
AP and AR.
Okay. Accounts payable and receivables.
It's all consistent, manageable data, understood data. There's a lot of companies out there that are doing it, and the way they're doing it, there's incredible results to it.
And I have seen some amazing examples of agentic AI doing wonders in that space. They're like amazing use case of where you can create hundreds of agents working seamlessly. As you said, the data is reasonably good.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to do a lot of homework to build that. So I 100% align on that. Okay, last question for today. What non-AI tech trend should every digital leader think about?
The shift from application-based architecture to platform-based architecture with boutique plugins.
Okay.
Completely has changed the paradigm. Used to, we bought this big ERP, this big application. We assessed it once, and then we just had to keep it running. But now we're going to buy a platform. We're going to buy a ServiceNow, a D365, a Workday, a PeopleSoft. Choose NetSuite. Choose your platform.
One platform, of course.
But it's a horizontal architecture, and I think of it like a beach, right? So you have this big long beach, and you have a lifeguard tower, and you have at least one, right? That's what comes standard. But then AP goes, I want another lifeguard tower. And then operations goes, I want another lifeguard tower. But each one of those, are they native or are they a plugin or some kind of component application that's coming in? And so when you start engaging with that kind of side, your platform stays the same, but your capabilities are now extensive.
Correct. Excellent. So we are at the end of the formal round. I'll open it up to the audience now. If you have any questions, I would love to hear them. Meredith, do you have some questions? So I'll repeat the question for Morgan here. How do you support employees who are resistant to change when adopting this AI?
So I'm a big fan of the indirect method.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is you don't have to go at the wall to break it.
Okay.
And so I look at if I've got a pillar of people that just really don't want to engage and adopt, I'm not going to force them. I'm not going to do it to them.
Mhm.
I'm going to do it
With
with
them.
them. And I'm going to do it with the person next to them and the person next to them and the person above them and the person below them. And they're going to get surrounded by all of these people that are like, this is so cool. And eventually they're just going to go,
Maybe I'm feeling left behind.
I guess.
So it's not a pull. It's not a push. You're saying it's a pull. That you create something that is so amazing that eventually people are going to come.
And there's some people, they never will.
Mhm.
There was an organization I was working with. They had a lady who, she was elderly, refused to use a computer.
Wow.
She did everything on a typewriter.
Mhm.
Her typewriter broke and it was so old that they could not get the parts for it. So instead of adopting the computer, she hand wrote every form for the next 2 years until she retired. There are some people
that's
that
okay. Yeah.
I am not going to be able to
Correct,
get
correct,
to it.
correct.
It's okay.
And that's okay.
We'll get the 80% to come to us.
Very nice. Thank you, Morgan. Any other question, Brandon?
What common mistakes do new technology leaders make when managing large change initiatives, and how can they avoid them?
Okay, so I'll repeat the question. So, what common mistakes do leaders make into doing change management and how to avoid them?
They sell a dream
Hmm.
and they get so focused on making people accept that the dream was successful
Mhm.
that they forget about making the dream successful.
Wow.
And so, and what I mean by that is, hey, we have this new dream. We're going to buy the latest and greatest whiz bang thing. You guys are all going to use it. And then 6 months go by and they're missing that customer service side, that engagement and success management side. And so they just leave it with people. And then 6 months down the road, someone goes, hey, we spent a lot of money on this thing. How's it doing?
I don't know.
I don't know. And then they go scrambling and they find some Sally Sue that did something
Correct,
with it.
correct.
And it's not really the best use case, but it's all they have. And then they start trumpeting it and promoting it
So
everywhere.
that hypercare period is very essential to make sure that you finish after delivering the business value and not necessarily jumping onto another interest instantly.
Mhm.
Thank you, Morgan. Any other question, Brandon?
Your advice for CIOs to stay ahead of vendor roadmaps and avoid investing in work that can soon be commoditized.
I think that's the exact same point that you were making, right? That
Yeah.
teams invest so much time building a POC or building a project, and 6 months down, 3 months down the line, the vendors deliver that exact same thing as a product feature. How do you manage or navigate around that change?
I think it goes back to having your enterprise reference architecture, identifying who in the IT or business organization has ownership over those applications. Any given company has anywhere from 300 to 1,000 applications.
Correct.
So don't try to chase all of them, but look at your core applications and make sure you have ownership on that. So Jim Bob, you're owner over this primary ERP application, or you're owner over ServiceNow or whatever. And so part of that ownership needs to be defined of how do you manage this product? You need to be engaging with your application customer success manager, knowing what the product roadmap is, knowing what's coming, and then that gives you a resource whenever you go to do an initiative and you're doing your ROI assessment to go, hey y'all, is any of our applications going to create this in the next few months? Oh, this one is? Okay, so we're going to pass this one
True.
and we're
For
going to go
something
to the
else.
next one.
Absolutely. No, having that willingness to invest that extra few hours into investigating what the product roadmap looks like, and then you can pass on that responsibility. And if the partnership is strong enough, then you can request that vendor, here are some of my requirements, if you can incorporate that while building the feature.
Well, and that's a great point, because that's the really cool thing about engaging with them that way. A lot of the software vendors, they need someone to help with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so a lot of times you can get your needs accelerated, because if you're talking with your vendor saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this, but it looks like you're going to do it, they may do it for you for free.
Correct, correct. Don't look at yourself as a guinea pig, but look at yourself as a partner, that I want to partner with you and co-build this product.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. Any other question, madam?
Question. See of AI.
Okay, so accuracy of AI is a very, very known elephant in the room for most people. How do you address that accuracy? How do you get people to convince or comfort them that yes, this AI is accurate?
So I love this because I roll back to the early 90s and with facial recognition. Facial recognition came out, super cool, but only 90% accurate. Everyone goes, this will never work to secure. And then they did a study and people were about 70 to 80% accurate. You walk right past the security guard and he doesn't look at your face.
Correct.
And so the tech was actually better, but it was visible that it failed versus the security guard was not. And so that's part of what I go to on this comment about accuracy. I'll ask the question and be like, so your report never has an error now that's prepared by a human? Oh, it does. Why with an AI world does it mean that you don't review what the AI creates?
Yeah, I can fire that guy, but I can't fire the AI.
Right?
That's what they're afraid of.
And so that's the component that you go, look, this doesn't mean we don't review it.
Correct.
It means we didn't spend the 6 hours creating it. And so I've started talking about this concept, time to decision.
True.
When you think about a meeting and leveraging AI in a meeting, it shortens time to decision. And so just envision with me, you're sitting in a conference room, the COO's there, you're looking at financials, and he goes, why is our production in this environment so much lower? What would currently happen if you don't have AI is you would have a gopher, some analysts that would gopher the answer.
Absolutely.
And they would leave. It would take a week. They would prepare it. They would send it to their manager who would review it because it's going to the COO, so it has to be reviewed a bunch. And then after a week, everyone would reconvene. They would give the COO the answer, and he would go, okay, well, we're going to do this and this. Time to decision 1 week, right? Or with AI, he says that same question. The analyst punches it into the connected data source, and it comes back and says, here's the likely reasons.
Correct.
The COO goes, well, if that's true, I think we should shift X, Y, and Z. Analysts go validate. The analyst leaves. Takes maybe a day to validate.
Absolutely.
Go, hey, the AI model was right. COO goes, okay, I already told you what to do.
Correct. So time to decision.
Time to decision is 1 day.
True.
That's the adaptability, the agility that you've now got.
Correct. I think this unrealistic expectation that if it's AI, it has to be accurate. I think people need to navigate away from that and start thinking of it as a tool. It may not cut down the entire 6 hours, but it's cutting 4 hours. You spend 2 hours in reviewing it, you still save some time.
Absolutely. One of the other comment is thinking about something I tell my team a lot is, but behind every data element is a person.
Correct.
Somebody somewhere put that information in somehow. Whether it was a physical activity that got recorded or it was actually someone typing it into a keyboard. And so that's the other element is it's not always the technology that's wrong.
True.
Sometimes it's the input.
How you have configured the technology that's wrong. Maybe in a chatbot, you just put it in a vector DB and it will start working. You used a different term and whatnot. Okay. I think we have time for one or a couple of more questions. Okay, so the question is, how do you keep experimenting with new technologies and keeping a balance with deploying reliable technologies that grows?
So I like having a separate environment as a playground. And that's one thing I encourage a lot of IT organizations is don't create just a playground for you, but for the business as well. A lot of times the business knows there's a problem and they can figure out most of the solution themselves if you give them a place to go play. And so give them the data access, give them the place to be able to fiddle and change things that aren't restricted by service desk tickets as much. And then just make sure you've got the barriers and guardrails in place. But you can open it up a little bit because it's not a production environment. You can use sanitized data.
Absolutely.
And so that's one of the things of opening that up, having that sandbox play area where, hey, we want to try this new technology. I'm going to pilot it for a few weeks. We're going to throw it in the sandbox. We're going to have some of the business come in and play with it. And we're going to go, oh, shucks, this just doesn't work for us.
Absolutely.
And so...
And give a disclaimer, right? That hey, this is a development environment or a non-production environment. Feel free to. Like Google did a phenomenal work with Google Labs. Gave that power to us as consumers. You go play with the product. They're not saying it's live, but I'm trying it out.
And one of the really cool things that happens is it keeps you from making bad purchasing decisions because now all of a sudden your user base is going, I like A, B, and C that I saw, I don't like these other things.
Correct, correct.
And I call it the good idea fairy because a lot of times whenever you're looking at a new application or a new process, people start getting the good idea fairy visit them. And they go, it would be great.
Great.
And all of a sudden you've got a project that's this big and you get that good idea fairy hit and it gets this big. And they sound good in theory, but when, in practical application, it falls down. So you waste a bunch of time.
Correct.
But by having the sandbox, that good idea fairy gets a chance to actually try it out and go, yeah, that's as good an idea as I thought it was.
Absolutely. No, when business tries to convince, every idea sounds good. Every idea sounds logical. But when you put a hat of actually delivering it and making it practical, some things go out of the window. I think we have time for one more question, Meredith.
Some advice you have for organization choosing their first AI use case to deliver value quickly, but also develop that confidence for scaling?
Okay, so the question that we got is the last question we'll take is that, sorry, I missed the question.
Just a piece of advice.
Piece of advice, yeah. So piece of advice for an organization that is going on embarking on an AI journey. What is the first AI use case that they should be thinking of?
The big use case that's going to save $10 million and is super cool is not the one to start with.
Okay, if you're getting that idea, then hold back. Think
Because
again.
it's probably very complex and you don't want to deliver value in 18 months. You want to deliver value now. And a secret I'll tell you is AI's superpower
Right.
is taking these old things that have kept us from not being able to do initiatives. We've got data sitting in warehouses that's never been scanned in because of the effort it takes to tag it. We've got ugly share drive that has all of this documentation that nobody can go through because we're pretty sure the Ark of the Covenant's hidden in it. Like if you've ever seen that old Indiana Jones warehouse, right? Those are the things, like we've had this forever. It's been a pain forever. And AI can go through it and go, oh, this is this, and this is this, and this is this. And it will happily just chuckle along. And you can go back and go, you know what? I trucked through 40 terabytes of data in a week. It's all tagged. It's all set to our retention period now. And people go, that would have been a $500,000 project,
absolutely.
minimum. And it's done in a week, 3 weeks, 6 weeks.
A few weeks, absolutely.
Incredible value there.
Yeah, so don't think about, basically what I'm hearing is don't think about a multi-million-dollar revolutionary idea, but start small, something that has been sitting on a while. It may not be generating instant ROI to you, but take it as a pilot project, like you said, couple of weeks, 3 weeks, don't put too much investment into it. See whether it is succeeding and then get that confidence to start building more on it. Okay. Well, awesome. Well, I had a blast. Thank you so much, Morgan, for taking time to meet with us today in the new session of BODHI. Ladies and gentlemen, we had Morgan Page from Weaver with us. My name is Siddharth Poddar, Chief Product Officer at